Good morning everyone, Gadget here in beautiful, sunny Los Angeles. We've been flown out here by Panasonic to go hands-on with their new S1H, a video-centric mirrorless camera. It's a full-frame system that packs a ton of features, and we're gonna dive deep and see what this thing can do. This is the Henry's first look. Welcome back everyone, and before I get started, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're into product releases, you want to know about these cameras as soon as they're announced, this is the place to be. Now, with that out of the way, let me talk about this camera. We have the S1H here, and I'm gonna go hands-on, and I want to show you some real-world footage with this thing, but I need to talk about what this thing can do because it is impressive. The Panasonic S1H rounds out their full-frame mirrorless lineup from Panasonic. It joins the S1 and S1R. This is a video-centric camera, and Panasonic, don't get it twisted, they know a thing or two about professional video in mirrorless. Look at their G9, their GH5. They've done remarkable things in Micro Four Thirds, and they're bringing a lot of those smarts and more to the S1H. On top of that, they've engineered solutions from their professional VariCam solution into the S1H as well. The S1H packs a 24 megapixel sensor and can go up to and over 51,000 ISO. What's unique about the ISO performance in the S1H is that it brings over the dual native ISO technology from Panasonic's VariCam solution. Quite simply, you can expect better noise performance from this camera than a camera without this dual native ISO technology. But let's dive into the video features that this camera can do. The S1H is capable of recording up to 6K at 24p or 5.9K at 30p in either a 3:2 or 16:9 aspect ratio. The S1H can shoot up to 422 at 10-bit. That's a lot of information. It can also output this to an external recorder as well. What I also like about this is that Panasonic has built-in redundancy, so you have the ability to record to an external recorder and internal SD card at the same time. When the S1H ships, it will come with V-Log and V-Gamut. This will give you the ability to shoot with much more dynamic range, similar to the technology and format you find in the VariCam solutions. A little over 14 stops of dynamic range. Again, this is not a paid upgrade. It comes built in with the S1H. And this is a really big deal because if you're part of a big studio or even an independent filmmaker and you've already invested in Panasonic's VariCam solutions, you can now have an affordable B/C/D camera that matches the color profile that you're shooting in right now. As you'd expect from a video-centric camera coming out in 2019, the S1H can shoot HDR as well, and it can shoot at varying frame rates for slow motion to your liking. When it comes to slow motion, the Panasonic S1H can go up to 60 frames per second in 4K or Cinema 4K. And get this, it can go up to 180 frames per second in 1080p, which is about 50% more frames per second than a lot of these top-tier mirrorless cameras on the market. Panasonic has also built in a 5-axis image stabilization system that gives you, and get this, up to six stops of image stabilization. That should make for some amazing handheld footage, but we're gonna see that in a little bit. Now, what professionals and aspiring professionals are gonna like is that you have the ability to monitor your waveform or your vector scopes in camera, something that's just not really heard of in the mirrorless world. And when you're used to these tools, especially in your editing environment, and you know how to read this, it's gonna make that much more of a difference when you're in the field capturing your image. It'll make sure that you're not over or underexposing unnecessarily. You only do that if you want to. These things are a welcome addition, especially for budding filmmakers. What's interesting about this camera is, well, it's two things really. The first is that it has this interesting heat dispersion technology that keeps your system cool and allows you, theoretically, to have unlimited recording. It's kind of insane. But also get this, the camera is also dust, splash, and freeze resistant. This kind of boggles my mind because you can quite easily see the vents. You can see where the airflow is coming in and out. How they managed to build in splash and freeze and dust resistance into this thing, I gotta find out how they do that. The Panasonic S1H takes two UHS-2 SD cards. It doesn't have an XQD card like the S1 and S1R, which is interesting, but that being said, SD cards are just a lot more readily available and significantly cheaper as well. Panasonic has also given us the ability to charge via USB-C. The S1R could do this, and again, more and more cameras should have this feature. It just makes it easier to have this camera along with you and have it charging, whether it's on your desk or in the background or on the go, in between shooting moments. And while this camera isn't built necessarily for vloggers, you do have this free angle display where you can pull out the LCD, tilt it around, and see what you're recording. And I have to say, it's not just for vloggers, because if you're recording at interesting and varying angles, well, having this is something that's a welcome benefit depending on your shooting environment. I'll also take this moment to say I really like the top LCD that Panasonic has built in. I've mentioned this before, but I would love to see this display more information when the camera is off. It seems to be limited to battery and memory card information. It'd be nice to see all your settings, what you were using last, even when the camera is off. Oh, and beside that LCD is this beautiful, nice red recording button. It's just so nice. Can I just say that? It's nice. Panasonic has also packed in their 5.76 million dot viewfinder into this thing, and when you look through it, it's as true to life as you can imagine. Now, I will say for purists, it might seem a little bit too punchy, a little too contrasty, but I'd much rather have this amount of resolution than something that's below it. Now, there wasn't a lot of talk about the photo capabilities, but I mean, you can take pictures with this camera. You can get some gorgeous 24 megapixel images at 9 frames per second if the focus is locked, or 6 frames per second in continuous focus. You also have a high resolution mode that can shoot up to 96 megapixel images. So they didn't really skimp out on the photo features, but let's be clear, this is a video-centric mirrorless full-frame solution. This is geared toward enthusiasts on the low end, but really filmmakers on the high end, and it's not something that you'd necessarily consider if you want to take photographs. So that's a quick rundown of some of the key features packed into this camera. What about we get out of this secret lair, take the camera into the streets of Los Angeles, and really see what it can do? So I don't know about you, but that's an incredibly capable video solution. And let's not get it twisted, there's still a lot of competition in the market. So let me know what you guys think. Has Panasonic brought enough to the table, or is this something that's gonna be reserved for an extremely niche audience? I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. But before you go, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you know when a new video comes out. My name's Gadgen, this has been Henry's First Look, and I'll see you next time.